Hello?
Hello, Matthew.
Hello, David. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Are we all set to go?
We are all set to go. We're going right now.
Okay, good. Let's see. The Damien T. Loy has said something about how the two double issues of Cerebus don't count as two issues. So technically, Cerebus only ran for 298 issues, but I can't find the direct quote. I was going to ask what you thought about that. And no, they're not two issues. They're four issues. It's actually very funny the number of times that I've had somebody say that they're filling in their Cerebus collection and can I help them out? And these are the issues that they're missing. And they'll say that they're missing issue 290. And I'll go, you got issue 289? And it's like, yep. Okay, you go and get issue 289 and bring it back to the phone. Okay, now turn it over. And it's like, oh, yeah, if you've got 289, you've got 290. But they are different issues. I think if you're a Cerebus purist, you should probably have two copies of 289, 290, so that one of the copies is issue 289 with 290 stuck on it, and the other copy is issue 290 with 289 stuck on it. As far as I know, I'm the only person that ever did that. Put out two issues at the same time with two different numbers on them. So I'm sticking with that. I'm sorry, Damien, I have to disagree with you. I think 112, 113, 289, 290 are four different issues.
I mean, I've always considered them, it's a double issue, but it's two issues worth of content in each issue, so yeah, it's four issues.
And it's got two numbers on it. I think that's the other thing that creates a bit of a controversy about it, because as far as I know, I'm the only person that ever did that. Put two issue numbers on a single comic book, because they're both in here. This is 112, 113, and this comic book here is 288 or 289, 290. So yeah, I get the sense that this is still trying to figure out if Todd McFarlane actually broke my record, or if he only has to go to issue 298 because I did two double size issues. Is that where the discussion's coming from?
It was Todd was part of it, and I mean it's one of those. I looked for it last night, and I'm like, I know it's here someplace on the internet, and I'm looking, I'm like, I just can't remember. Was it on Facebook? Was it on an Amok comment? Was it here? Was it there? And I'm like, I know the gist of it, because he's said this a couple of times, and we always, everybody replies with, you're being pedantic. It's still 40 pages per issue. Right. It's one of those. The point is kind of moot because it's been 15 years.
Yeah, although that tends to work in the other direction, I think, in the internet age. The longer a discussion goes on, the longer the discussion is going to go on until it starts spiraling off into infinity, because nobody's going to give in on whatever viewpoint that they have advanced on Facebook or Twitter or wherever it came from. Usually you're pretty good at that. Usually you remember where you saw something.
Well, like I said, he's brought it up a number of times, and every time somebody will say, "Well, you know, I can see both arguments," but then again, that's people have brought up it's a 6,000 page graphic novel. Well, yeah, but the first 13 issues were 22 pages, so it's really 6,020 something.
Right.
And then because that's the other one. It's only 298 issues. Yeah, but it's more than 300 issues worth of content if you're only counting it as 20-page installments. So now, it's one of those. It's a record, and at a certain point,
it's the same thing as the in between stories, like the Cerebus Jam stories and the stories in the back of Swords. It's like, do you include those as part of the 6,000-page graphic novel? Because
I personally do, just because I consider it all. Yeah, they're not. The sword stories fill in gaps, so they're kind of necessary to the storytelling. Like the epic stories, yeah, you don't need the epic stories, but they're really nice looking, so I include them.
Right.
Yep.
And there are references to them. That's the other continuity argument. Is that was me trying to avoid the other major problem that Robert E. Howard ran into, which was this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. We've got the map figured out, but we can't figure out where he is or why he suddenly moved from here over to this place. So I was always very careful to make sure that there was a thread of continuity through all of the stories, and then that just creates another conflict. Well, is this part of the 6,000-page graphic novel, because it's not part of the 300 issues, or the 300 issues, or are they only 298 issues? And it's like, man, oh man, if we thought that we were good at splitting hairs as a society before, the internet has definitely scratched that itch for a lot of people.
Well, I blame it on Stan Lee and the sky turned green in Fantastic Four 96, so now in Daredevil, whatever, the sky has to turn green because it's the same month as the issue of Fantastic Four, but it didn't turn green in Spider-Man, which means Spider-Man was a different time, blah, it was nice, tight continuity, is great. It's just, the more you get of it, the more it's, you're wrapping rubber bands around the rubber band ball, and eventually, too big to lift.
Yeah, I think that's more of Mark Grunwald than Stan Lee. I think...
Well, Stan started it, but when Stan started it was really easy to keep track of, and by the time Mark came along, it was, okay, well, what about this issue? Does this issue count, or does this issue not count?
Right. And how are we going to rationalize this? And are we just rationalizing, or are we actually creating a solid foundation to all of this stuff? And then they come along and just blow everything up. So
well,
that creates its own problems as well. I think at the very least we can say about Cerebus that that's not going to happen, that you're not going to have future continuities that violate the 6,000-page graphic novel itself. Are the Cerebus in Hell #1 and the Cerebus in Hell miniseries part of the graphic novel is sort of the next argument. And it's like, I would say so. If you're going to keep bugging me about, well, what did happen after Cerebus died? It's like, well, if I'm going to show you that, then we have to start giving me credit for doing more than 300 issues.
Well, we got an email thread going between the Brain Trust. It's Birdsong, Hobbs, Robinson, me, and we brought in a couple other guys for the Vark Wars. But one of the things, as Todd approached 300, we're like, just to mess with Todd, we should come up with Cerebus number 300 and whatever issue would be if you include Cerebus Archive. And I piped up with and Glamourpuss and all the Cerebus and Hell one-shots. And, everything Dave's published with the aardvark in it or even remotely close to it. Let's add it up. How many issues is that? Okay, Todd, this is the new record.
I think at that point you're just being irritating.
Well, then Benjamin Hobbs came up with, why don't we just do 300 and whatever issue it would be, number 1, and then the next month would be 348, number 1, and then 349, number 1. Are they still talking about that on Todd's and Eric's website? There's a lot of articles online still about Todd getting to 300 and 301. And I've been seeing links to them. I don't always click on them. There was one where it was on previews. There was a video where they were interviewing Todd, and he was explaining what the record he's breaking is. And ever since then, every Friday when I post the weekly update, I used to just put "Here's Dave" and then the video. Now I put "Here's" and I put the Guinness World Records logo and then the video.
Okay.
So, his record it's the longest independently owned run comic book in North America.
Oh, okay.
And okay, I can see that, but, the record that you have is writing and drawing 300 consecutive issues.
Right.
If we really want to get pendactic, how many pages did Jack Kirby draw? Well, okay, that's the new record. You got to beat Kirby's record.
Right. Yeah, I think Todd might have to do a little work on the description and see if he can sell that to the Guinness people. As here's another category that you're going to have to add in. Rick Norwood, that does Comics Review. He just put out issue 400, and he thinks he's the guy with the record.
Well, the Guinness book has the world record for the most number of characters on the cover of a comic book is issue of Deadpool, and it has 238 characters. And somebody pointed out there's an issue of G.I. Joe that has all the G.I. Joes on it, and it's 238 G.I. Joes, but the Deadpool cover counts animals as characters, and the G.I. Joe cover didn't, and they have animal characters, so technically G.I. Joe has the record, even though Guinness gave the record to Deadpool. And this is the point where Dave goes, I'm going to go work on A Strange Death of Alex Raymond for a couple hours.
Really? It's like, have you people no better uses for your time? And you try and find diplomatic ways of saying that, and there really isn't a diplomatic way of saying that.
But remember, the Guinness Book of World Records was founded as a book of records to settle bar bets.
Right.
So in my eyes, any record in the book involves alcohol at least a little bit.
This is true. It's like Blair, was it Blair's son? Yeah, Blair's son was the first one to discover it in the kitchen families that I was in the Guinness Book of World Records. And Blair said, yeah, he really just looks at it because it's got lots of creepy stuff in it, like guys with way too long fingernails and things like that. Otherwise, he wouldn't be allowed to look at, but because it's in the Guinness Book of World Records, it sounds a little more scholarly. So, it's I'm never near a bookstore, but I think if anybody is near a bookstore, it's got the 2019.
2018.
What's that?
You're in the 2018 book. The 2019 book has all different records. I went out and got a copy. I was going to buy a copy of the 2019. Like, okay, Dave's in here. Well, actually, a lot of the records don't roll over from year to year because
really?
it's an abridged version of the record book. On their website, they're supposed to have everything listed.
And do they?
Last time I looked, I think they still had to update it. I couldn't find the record with you.
Right. I'm wondering if when they start getting inundated by emails from people who want Todd to replace Dave Sim, that they just go, let's just skip this record. It's I don't think people in the real world are going to notice, and these people are just being irritating at this point. But I will be able to say that I was in the 2018 Guinness Book of World Records. So,
well, that's the biggest problem I have is you go to the bookstore and you're like, okay, I'm looking for the Guinness Book of Records, and they give you the current years. I'm like, well, I'm looking for last year's, and they just look at you like you're a moron. Well, why would you want last year's? Like, because that's the one that's got the record I want to see.
Right. And then we'll find out which one's the rarest Guinness Book of World Records book. You just can't find that 2018 anymore because all the Cerebus fans buy it.
Well, that's every time I go to the half-price bookstore, I kick myself when I walk out. I'm like, I forgot to ask if they had the book.